Happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday, June 7th in the year of 2022, and welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Thom, brought to you by the Best Girl Consulting Firm. I hope you all had a good weekend. I hope you enjoyed yourself. It is the 158th day of the year 2022. There are 207 days left in this year. So as we look back at the mass shootings over the past few weeks, Buffalo, New York, Uvalde, Texas, they're now part of our shared history, the history of the United States of America, our history. We have to own it. Whether you approve or disapprove, in the future, people will study the events of today and yesterday and determine who we are and who we were. And we should always remember that. You don't get do-overs with history. You can wonder what if, but you don't get do-overs. For instance, what if in 1950, the United States Supreme Court in Henderson versus the United States struck down racially segregated railroad dining cars? What if they didn't? How would that have changed our world? This week in 1968, Robert F. Kennedy was shot and mortally wounded after claiming victory in California's Democratic primary at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles. What if? What if he had become president of the United States? That's a big, big, big what if. What if American corporations behaved like General Electric described in their 1953 annual report, where General Electric proudly talked about how much it was paying its workers, how its suppliers were benefiting, and even how much money it paid in taxes to the United States government? What if? History, we're making it every day. Perhaps we should be a little more careful about how we make it. Our G-list guest for today is my good friend Andrew Jackson from Grambling State. Andrew is going into the Hall of Fame down at Grambling. I can't wait to talk to him. Andrew and I played football in the World League together, and then we coached together. And so I'm looking forward to that conversation. So this edition of Tuesday with Thom, of course, is sponsored by our partners, the Best Girl Consulting Firm. Best Girl has been providing customized solutions to executive issues for 34 years. Let's hear from Best Girl.
Best Girl is a consulting firm that provides customized leadership, access and inclusion, public relations, communications, and organizational consulting services. Clients include Fortune 500 companies, utilities, higher education institutions, small businesses, and associations. Best Girl's team of consultants, led by Joyce Gilly-Gossam, Emily Hedrick, and Sean Jones, partners with business and education clients to promote organizational effectiveness, communication, motivation, and leadership, with always an impact on the bottom line. Best Girl's customized consulting services include strategic planning, corporate communication, executive coaching, fundraising, and economic development.
Best Girl creates a solution that fits your needs. So let's get to our roundtable regulars and introduce Barbara Wallace Edwards and Michael Walker. Barbara Wallace Edwards, how are you this morning?
You? Good
there
morning.
You are.
I'm doing well. I'm here. How are you?
I am doing very well. So what's going on with you?
Well, Thom, I want to say congratulations again to our Birmingham Stallions, still undefeated. It was a close game this past Saturday. They pulled it out and won 10-9. So
wow,
they have won the South Division of the USFL.
How many games do they play?
Now, Thom, you're asking a question. I don't know. I have to look that up.
I'm just curious.
I don't know. I think they played maybe 12 games, but I'll have to go back and look and see.
Okay.
But there, we were talking about players who we may know that play for the Birmingham Stallions, and there are no Auburn players on the team, but there is a Mobile connection there. There's a young man, Marlon Williams, who was a standout player at McGill-Tulane High School down in Mobile and played his collegiate career at UCF. He had his first 100-yard receiving game as a Birmingham Stallion on Saturday night. So he helped them to lead them to victory.
Well, good deal.
Yes.
Good deal. let's get. I got a couple things I want to talk to the both of you about. So let's get Michael on here. And Michael Walker, how are you this morning, buddy?
Doing well, Thom. How you doing today?
Man, I'm doing great. I'm doing well. The sun's shining. It's a pretty day, and nobody's looking for me that I know of right now. So, what's going on in your world, Michael?
Well, and good morning to you, Barbara. I hope
morning,
you're doing
Michael.
well too. You know, Thom, there's a lot of things that's going on in the world right now because of the pandemic, and you made a comment, we live in a crazy world. In the world of insurance, there are about 24 people that have been charged with what's called a part of a macabre $26 million insurance scam using fake death certificates. And that word macabre basically means ghastly, dealing with death. And these people, what they've done is that they put together fake death certificates. They lied to authorities and what have you about people passing away to collect $26 million in insurance money. And they scammed the insurance companies. And what's so ironic about it, one of the defendants is an insurance agent who owned a side business performing medical exams on life insurance applicants. And among those people, there are parents and their children and what have you. They got over $26 million of ill-gotten gains that included 9 luxury automobiles, 2 Corvettes, Mercedes, Hummers, GMCs, Rolexes. And they are having to make appearances in federal court in Chicago, Orlando, Tampa, and Miami, according to prosecutors. So you better watch out down there in Florida, Thom. They got it going on.
No, I run from stuff like that.
and I just, you know, I'm amazed that there's an insurance agent. He knows how the system works. And for him to allow himself to be caught up into that, they're going to really throw the book at him. And the fact that he had a side business that performed life insurance exams for people that are applying for life insurance, we know how that went, you know.
So let me ask. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Well, so basically what they're doing, they would go to cemeteries, come up with fake names and all this type of stuff.
Jesus.
And have people to go through and pretend to be them. And then later they die and they create these death certificates and collect this money. And so now they're facing court. And I had another situation that kind of struck close to home not long, a couple of weeks ago. My first attorney, when I first started my business, Tricom, back in the 80s, he was indicted.
Wow.
Wow.
John Oxendine, he served as my first attorney, good guy. He ended up becoming insurance commissioner, served 4 terms as insurance commissioner. And he was indicted.
For the state of Georgia?
For the state of Georgia, yes.
He was indicted because he was involved in this situation?
Not in this situation. It was another with himself where he and one of his colleagues, they defrauded United Healthcare and I think Blue Cross Blue Shield of $600,000. Also similar to this, doing some type of fake exams and what have you. And, you know, what's so surprising about that is that he and the guy that are caught up in this, they only split $600,000. But
it's not, what are they going to learn? It's just not worth it.
Well, let me comment on that. Do you guys ever watch Forensic Files? Because crooks are dumb, man. I mean, it's like, how can you be that stupid? On Monday, this woman takes out a $300,000 life insurance policy on her husband, and then Wednesday she kills him and says she didn't do it.
God.
You know,
That's crazy.
it's like, could you at least wait a couple weeks? I mean, it's like crooks, man. I guess that's why they're crooks.
I guess there's some dumb people in every profession, Thom. Oh my goodness.
Well,
go ahead.
I'm really the thing with my former attorney and friend. His name is John Oxendine. His dad is a Superior Court judge. I know the family very well, and I'm really surprised that John got himself caught up in this. He also ran for governor 4 years back in 2010.
I thought I recognized the name.
Yes.
And you have to think it's just greed. I mean, surely they have enough money to live off of and meet their needs.
Or you think you can ease through the cracks?
I guess.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys. I got a couple of things I want to ask you, and then this one we'll make it kind of short because I know you both got an opinion on it. Auburn was ranked #1 university on Forbes magazine 2022 list of America's best employers for new grads. Comments?
Well, I'll just say I don't disagree with that. I'm sure that's the case. If you look at the people that are employed at Auburn, I'm sure that they are very happy. And I know one particular person that is the epitome of that article. The person that heads up the, the disadvantaged department in Auburn, the department that approves minority business to come to work and what have you and do that. She's not doing a very good job, but she's making a couple $100,000, so she fits right into that article.
Barbara?
I can definitely agree with the article. I think that Auburn prepares students to come out of university and they're prepared to do a good job in the workplace. I'm not so sure that they're always prepared to deal with the diversity in the workplace because Auburn is not as diverse as it needs to be right now. But I do think they do a good job of preparing students for the workplace.
Well, I guess when you're ranked #1, you're doing something right. So
something right. Yeah.
Somebody down there making a lot of money. It's not a lot of us that's doing it, but it's a few of us that's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, good for Auburn and good for the grads because that should help them.
Absolutely.
In their job searches. So I got a couple other things I want to talk to you about. And this one I'm going to kind of aim at Michael. You were on a couple weeks or so ago and you'd had this conversation with Herschel Walker and basically came away thinking Herschel was a sane man, but you didn't endorse him in his run for the Senate. But last week, Herschel came out with some interviews that would just question his sanity, and so I'm gonna let you take it from there, Michael.
Well, first of all, Thom, when you say that I came away impressed that he was a sane person, let me just say that people, and I'm not saying that Herschel is like this, but people that suffer from dementia sometimes appear to be sane. They go in and out of lucidness. So, and sometimes maybe an individual may not always think clearly, but I will say that I think that Herschel probably may be in over his head in this senatorial bid, to be honest with you. And I think that I really think he is a good person and a nice person, but bottom line is I think he's in over his head. And I personally had spoken to several people and I made a comment that I thought that the Republican Party, and I'll say we, since I'm a Republican, that we could be making a mistake by supporting and urging Herschel to run for Senate, because I felt like it was done just to offset Raphael Warnock, is what I felt.
Well, you made that point to me right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and to be honest with you, I feel bad for the situation that he's in because I knew it was coming. And I've told people that this is how this game is played. And if you're going to run for Senate like that, you have to be very clear in your thoughts and your ability to articulate issues that make sense to the whole spectrum of people. You've got to be able to relate to them your thoughts and what you want to do. And I just don't see that happening right now.
And Michael, there
Well,
was something you said that, you
Go
said Herschel, you believe Herschel is a good person. And there was one interview that I watched that Herschel did, and he said that Herschel, and he was speaking to himself in the third person, Herschel has like multiple personalities. And he says some of them are good and some of them are bad. So it depends on which Herschel you get as to which one, how he's going to respond, how he's going to react, and how he's going to relate to people. Well, in a Senate, we don't want multiple personalities, in holding a Senate seat, and which we don't know which one is going to show up on any given day, or he may be stuck in one of those personalities for an extended period of time, and how he's going to react. He said because some of those Herschels are very violent. He said, and so again, he's just not very stable, and people like that needs to.
He said something about putting a gun in his mouth. I think
I read where he put the gun to his ex-wife's head, and he also pulled a gun on a delivery man because he didn't like the fact that he was delivering to his house on that day at that time. So again, that's just a little bit strange behavior for someone that's running for anyone, but certainly someone that's running for a seat in the Senate.
Well, what's your opinion, Thom?
I heard this, and somebody said, well, the person who's most happy about Herschel running is Coach Tuberville. I probably agree with that. I don't know. Herschel, I only know him as this great football player in the 80s. And even though he was Georgia and I was Auburn, I just loved watching him play. He was an incredible
football player,
athlete.
Yes.
I did read at some point that he and his wife were having some issues, and I'm not going to step into that. But I didn't think it was a good idea for him to run. Not knowing anything about his personalities and all that, but just thinking that you're probably not qualified.
Right.
Can you go into those tough situations and explain your way out of them as a senator? And so I didn't think it was a good idea. And I also thought it was a good idea. I thought there were, and I don't want to go into the Republicans and the Democrats and all that, but I did think that there were some Republicans who felt like, well, they had to have a black guy to run against Warnock. And so Herschel's popular, and we'll get him. And although he says nobody put him up to it, I think he was certainly. I don't think he was just walking down the street one day and said, "Ooh, I think I'll run for the U.S. Senate." So I don't know. I said this earlier to you guys. I feel bad for him because I like him, but I don't know him. I have to qualify when I say I like him because I don't know him. But I don't feel sorry for him because you should know better. And as you said, Michael, you should know what you're getting yourself into. This is cutthroat on a very high level. And the minute it was announced that he won that primary, they unleashed the hounds on him, man.
Yes.
So I don't know what he'll do from this point.
I don't know either, but I tell you, if they have a debate between he and Warnock, I want a front row seat. I want to be there in person. I want to see. I don't want to miss anything. Huh? Yes,
you gonna bring your popcorn?
Absolutely, popcorn, soft drink. I don't even eat popcorn or drink soft drink. But I will be there.
I think one of the things we've talked about over the years, and this is not necessarily directed towards Herschel, is that diversity isn't just getting another black person. And I think people will learn that from this.
Yes.
You got to get somebody whose ideas are aligned with yours, whose experience is aligned with yours, who wants the same things you want. You don't just get them because they're black. And I think that's what they've done here. Well, black and popular. He isn't just black. I mean, he's very, very popular. And,
Right.
Michael and I were talking about this in terms of what he means to people in Georgia.
Right.
He means a lot to Georgia football fans.
Yes.
And so I don't know. Do you throw that away?
It's obvious if he were to win, he wouldn't be the one making decisions and determining how the votes would go. There will be others telling him what to do. And again, it depends on which Herschel is listening to that conversation as to whether he would follow their advice or not. So I agree. I think it was just a wrong decision.
I agree with you that he will be advised by other people. But hell, most of them probably like that. They don't read those damn bills.
I was going to say
read the bills.
Yeah.
You know?
I was going to say that most of the people that are elected, whether they're in the Congress or the Senate, they have a staff of legislative aides that do all the work and read all the bills and then give them a summary of what's
right. But at least they read the summary and understand it. No, go ahead, Thom. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, and they never leave those jobs. If Tuberville loses the next term, his staff just go to work for somebody else.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
true.
Anyway.
Yeah, because they don't really have time because they have to be on the floor to vote. And then the other thing, there's two things to that. One is they are constantly in the mode of raising money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now he even after you get elected, do that.
That's what they have. That's what they do. They spend more time dialing for dollars than anything else and meeting with supporters to raise funds so that they can stay in office. That's number one. The other thing is, you guys will be surprised. There's a saying in Washington that the country is being run by 23-year-olds or 20-something-year-olds because they come out of college, they major in political science, they go and get an internship at a congressman's office or a senator's office or wherever, and then they start to work their way up. They're the ones that are really making the decisions and telling the elected official what they need to say and how they need to go based on what the poll is saying. So Herschel has good people around him. The problem is when they're not around him and he's doing an interview by himself. You know what I mean? That's where there may be some trickiness, especially when you get with a seasoned reporter that has been there long, to your point, Thom, that's been a reporter covering the Hill that really know the issues as well as anybody does. And that's where he may get into trouble. But if they can just keep him, propped up with good people, he'll do well, I think, but it's going to be a long road, unfortunately. I still believe Herschel's a good guy. I think Herschel's aware what he knows and what he doesn't know and where he needs help. But at the same time, when you're thrust into that limelight and you don't have the experience, that's where all your weaknesses are exposed. And that's what's going on right now.
Well, he won't be the first person that didn't know what he was talking about, that won an election or ran for office, especially in the Senate, because most of them are millionaires and most of them have very little political experience. Very few of them have come up through that system in the Senate. Now in Congress, you kind of come up through in the House, you kind of come up through that system. So anyway, any other comments? We'll get our G-list guests out on that. All right. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
So let's go to Sean. Sean's got a minute. She wants to talk to us about it. Sean, you there?
Good morning. My name is Sean Jones, and this is Got a Minute. Hello to everyone joining in with us this morning. I hope everyone is well and in great spirits this week. Let's get into it. Guess what today is? Well, not only is it Tuesday, June 7th, it is also, you guessed it, Prince's birthday. Prince was an American singer, guitarist, songwriter, producer, dancer, and performer on keyboards, drums, and bass. He was the rare composer who could perform professionally on virtually all the instruments he required. Little Red Corvette was Prince's first big crossover hit, gaining airplay on MTV at a time when virtually no Black artists appeared on the influential new medium. Purple Rain made him one of the major stars of the 1980s and remains his biggest selling album. Prince continued to produce inventive music of broad appeal. Outside of the US, he was particularly popular in Britain and the rest of Europe. Happy birthday, Prince. Thank you all for joining in. My name is Sean Jones, and this is Got a Minute.
All right. Happy birthday, Prince. Thank you, Sean. So let's get to the G list. Hollywood has the A list, and here on Tuesdays with Thom, we have the G list. Today's G list guest is Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson is a behavioral associate and counselor. For the past 35 years, he's helped at-risk youth of various age groups to understand that their healing is their responsibility. He was born and raised in Monroe, Louisiana. He attended Richmond High School, where he played football and achieved the status of team captain, and he made All-State. Thereafter, he received a football scholarship to Grambling College, where he played for the legendary coach Eddie Robinson. Then he went on to achieve the status of team captain and All-American, and next month he will be inducted into the Grambling State Football Hall of Fame. Andy, how are you, man?
Yeah, I'm good, Thom. Good to see you this morning, my friend.
Good to see you, man. You're going into the Hall of Fame, huh?
Yeah, man. Miss Leola's baby boy.
So, Andy, let's go back. I think
we can go way back.
We met when the World League was playing in Birmingham. When it the World League? You had so many leagues.
Yeah, they did.
And you were in camp. I was in camp. We had both graduated college at the same time, and we had a lot of fun. And when the team folded up, about halfway through the year, the team folded up, and I tell you what, I got drafted by New England, but the World League was in Birmingham, and I was from Birmingham, and they gave me more money, so I signed with Birmingham. Halfway through the season, they folded up.
Well, yeah, that's the way it happened, Thom, man. And all of a sudden, a lot of guys were out of work.
A lot of us were out of work. Man, I'm proud of you for going into the Hall of Fame. That's just wonderful. And you were offensive guard in the World League.
Offensive guard.
And they had this thing where they told those offensive guards when they were pulling, they was pulling, so you got to come around that corner and look somebody up. And looking somebody up means you found who you were going to block. And Andy, you could look them up, baby.
I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it, Thom. I did, man. And just with what you said earlier about going into the Hall of Fame at Grambling, it's very humbling to me. It's very humbling to me, when I think about the Buck Buchanans and the Willie Davises and the Willie Browns and the Doug Williams and the Shaq Harrises of the world. I'm right there.
You're right there with me.
It is. I am. As a matter of fact, Shaq, James Harris, who was one of the first quarterbacks that was black in the NFL, he's my homeboy. We're from the same hometown.
Okay.
And he called me the other day, and he's the one that's going to introduce me.
Oh man, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, he called me the other day. Yeah,
Well, for
we're from the
those who,
same neighborhood.
oh yeah, and for those who
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know, Grambling and many of Florida A&M in particular, those two, and then others, put a lot of the black athletes into the NFL because at the time, the black athletes, particularly in the South, couldn't play at Auburn and Alabama and so on and so forth. And so they
Correct.
went to the black colleges, and you had these legendary coaches like Eddie Robinson, the coach at Florida A&M. I mean, it was
Don't forget Tennessee State. Don't forget Tennessee State and John Merritt.
Tennessee State. That's right, man. It was great. There
Yeah.
was some great football, and these guys went on to great things in the NFL. So let me ask you this question: why do you think that this year Deion Sanders signed the number 1 prospect in the country?
Yes, he did.
Do you think this will be a trend in the future? I mean, those guys were always kind of the black colleges didn't have a shot at them, and
Of
Deion has
course.
broken into that. What do you think? You think this will be something that continues because they got the NIL now? We didn't have. What was your NIL? We used to get $15 a month.
I got 25. I beat you by 10.
You might have been getting that
Got
other
25.
10
I beat you by 10. and if I needed more in advance, man, it was a borrow. It wasn't a give. I didn't get it the next month.
Anyway,
But I think
go
Tom,
ahead, Ed.
with what I think with what Deion has going on, I think it's marvelous. I really do. With he's awakening a whole new era for HBCUs. He has the name recognition and he has the history behind him. By being an All-Pro and Hall of Famer and everything, and young guys, all they want to know is, can you get me there?
Yeah, that's true.
And I believe that if he has the staff available to teach the guys, it can happen. I think it can happen. I really do. He's doing something phenomenal at Jackson State. I was watching a video this morning on YouTube, and he was showing a bunch of new kids, their new facility. He's showing a bunch of new kids the new facility, and that gets them there too.
It does. It does.
Yeah. He was introducing them to their new facility.
Barbara, you got a question for Andrew?
I do. First, I want to say congratulations to you, Andy, on your induction into the Grambling State Hall of Fame. That's phenomenal. I want to ask you about playing for legendary coach Eddie Robinson. What was that like? That had to have been, just a once in a lifetime type experience. But tell us a little bit about how he had interacted with his players, what he meant to you in that program there at Grambling.
Well, thank you, Barbara. Playing for Coach Robinson, you hear a lot of stories about Bear Bryant and how he interacted with his players and how his players looked up to him. There was very little difference. One of the things that I tell a lot of people is that he never addressed us as boys. He always, from the moment I got there, all I ever heard him say was, "Look, men, men, men," and that was just a learning experience in itself. One of the things about Coach Robinson was he never allowed you to make excuses. He would never allow you to make excuses, and he would always talk about learning. How are you going to conduct yourself in public? What are you going to say when you ask questions? It was always about your future. And I adopted a habit of his that that he always had, and he even brought his briefcase to the practice field.
I love it.
You didn't bring yours now.
No, but here's my point. He always took notes.
Okay.
He always took notes, and I'm a stickler at that now. Something that's inspired me, something that's that I want to keep in mind, something that I want to go back to. I'm always taking notes. And that's one of the things that he always did. He was always about learning and manhood.
Yes.
And about taking care of your family.
That's great. Thank you.
Michael?
Yes. Good morning, Andrew. And I want to say congratulations
Good morning, Michael.
on becoming an inductee of the Hall of Fame. And I also want to say I'm happy that you weren't coming around the corner looking me up, because you still look rather fierce and intimidating.
I always, hey, Michael, I always had bad intentions.
I believe it. I believe it. That's why I said I'm glad you weren't looking me up, especially someone that enjoys that. It'll be different if you really didn't like it. I may have a chance, but if you enjoy it, that doesn't give me a shot. So
I really did, Michael. I really did.
What I want to ask you is, and we see this trend coming where some of the top-notch blue chip recruits that are African American going to HBCUs. And I think it's good because it will elevate and bring more attention. But on the flip side, will it take away scholarship opportunities from other players that didn't have a shot to go to a school like an Auburn and Alabama? Because you get, there's always two sides of the coin. So if you're going to get the number one recruit out of Lawrenceville, that's a cornerback that was offered by Auburn and Alabama, Georgia, and all of that, and he going to Jackson State, then there could be another player that may not have the notoriety, but maybe have the skill set, but maybe not quite there, will lose that opportunity. How do you feel about that?
Well, it regrettably, Michael, it's always going to be somebody to fall through the cracks, and I hate that, but it is a reality. I think for as long as HBCUs have been on the back burner, and we have this opportunity now, I want to see them. I want to see them advance. I really, really do. And if a kid has an opportunity to go to a Jackson State, probably who for the first 15 years of his life, he never heard of Jackson State, and now he's got an opportunity to go and help the university, but not only help the university, have an opportunity to still get a good education and graduate. I'm all for it. Regrettably, as I said before, there's always going to be some kids that fall through the crack, and I hate that. But if an HBCU and a kid can have an opportunity to go and still shine and get his needs met and become a young man that's responsible and everything, I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
I think I'll just pitch in here and say that there's always athletes out there.
Forever.
Some don't get selected on the first round, so to speak, but they can play. I mean, we're talking about the USFL. That team in Birmingham hadn't lost a game. None of those guys are going to make it in the NFL. I mean, they may make, some of them could, but they fell through those cracks you talk about.
Yes.
And so I think if they can't go to Jackson State, they'll go to a community college if they want to play. And they'll spend a couple of years at a community college, and then they'll go to Jackson State, or maybe then they'll even go to Auburn or what have you. So I I get the point, but I think there's a. I mean, it's the same way in basketball. I was reading about Ime Udoka, coach of the Boston Celtics.
Mhm.
Ime has played in about 5 countries, and he's been on a couple of different teams. And he'd
Yes.
get cut, and he'd go find somebody else who would take him. And so I think
Yes. Yes.
there's jobs out there, and hopefully these
Mhm.
kids. And then the kid may be 170 pounds when he comes out of high school, but in 3 years he's at 205, and he's buffed up, and
Mhm.
he's ready to be to meet that challenge. So
Right.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
it's
Yes. Yes.
I think it'll work out. I'm glad for Dion and the guy. At first I thought, now when Dion was going to do it at first, like, oh man, this is just kind of this ain't
Yeah.
gonna work,
Right.
Yeah.
But I think it's working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Working well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
well, one of the things I'm getting more of I'm sorry, Michael.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
One of the things is I think that I'm becoming more convinced that he's possibly in it for the long run.
Mhm.
And I really, really hope that he does. And that's one of the real concerns that I had, because, the name of the game is that loot, man. And, when they throw in millions and millions of dollars at you to come to a place, it's very tempting. So, but I'm hoping that he'll give it another at least 2 to 3, if 4 years, man, because he can build something great at Jackson State that will help all HBCUs.
That's right.
Right.
Well, see,
that will help all HBCUs.
That leads into my other story with the NIL. How do you think HBCUs will be able to take advantage of NIL and be able to get even more blue chip athletes? Because what the SEC schools are going to do. Your LSUs and Floridas and stuff. They have the alumni base to do that.
Yes.
So, what creative things can HBCUs to be able to level that playing field?
That's a good question, Michael, and I don't have the answer. I don't have the answer, because it sounds to me like, when I hear more about the NILs, man, that they're using it as a tool to recruit kids. That we can get you this and we can get you that. This kid, Archie Manning's nephew, is coming out and going to Texas, man, and he's a millionaire already.
Right.
They're promising him to be a millionaire. I was reading a story about a kid that was signing at USC. They're offering him a mansion and $1 million. So
he may get as much as what was the running back at USC?
Huh?
Oh.
Who was the running back? Was married to Kardashian girl. Kardashian was with her. Yeah, he got a bunch of money.
Bush.
Right.
Bush.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
Reggie Bush.
Yeah. So I don't know what they can do to compete, man, because it's off the chain.
But can I?
It's
I'd
off
like
the
to
chain,
add to
because
that.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, finish up.
Well, because I thought that it was to be used as a tool for companies to be able to offer the kid endorsements, not the school being able to offer the kid the endorsement. I thought when he got there that the companies could offer him endorsements and everything, but I didn't know that the school could do it or would do it.
That's interesting, because that was the impression I was under, that the NIL came into play once they had already signed with the school. But it looks like it comes into play to get you to sign
with the school.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole
why I asked.
point.
That's all.
These collectives are coming together. The alumni base are putting all this money together, create collectives, and so they're offering them before they even sign to say, if you come, then this is what we'll give you. So yeah, they're creating company-like situations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
what
And
I
so
what I
that's go ahead, Tom. I'm sorry, go
no
ahead.
no no go ahead.
Yeah,
No, what I was just going to
that's
say.
all. I'm sorry.
Let me just say, what I was going to say about the black schools is that oftentimes you hear former athletes, former students who have gone to majority universities who say they didn't have the college experience
Right.
that they wanted to have.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, and I read this about the kid that went to Jackson State, he could play top level football, he could get some NIL money, and he would have the experience, the black college experience, which means he could enjoy himself maybe a little more, certainly more than I did. So I think it balances out in some ways.
Mm-hmm. You know,
You guys go ahead.
I remember hearing about a kid that this was back in the day when a lot of alumni was paying money. You know, those $100 handshakes, Tom.
No comment. That was
those
a long time ago.
Well, you know, there was a kid in Mississippi. He was offered a scholarship, and you know, his family lived almost at the end of a dirt road, you know, in a shack, man. And once he signed at the particular school in Mississippi, now his road is paved and there's a new home. You know, at the end of the road, you know. But this, you know, this is all in this recruiting, man, and all this money is being thrown around. And you know it's going to really muddy up the water for the actual purpose that it was set up to do, possibly.
Sure.
So it's just going to be a big muddy road, and I don't know if the sport is going to get any better, Tom, through this. I really, really don't.
I don't. I always thought kids should be paid, but I thought they should be paid by the universities that they played for, and there should be some funds set aside that they could be paid. You know, like I said, we got the $15. Well, what's to stop it from being $1,500?
I can't believe I got 25 and you got 15.
15,
this
buddy.
Was scrambling, man.
And they called it laundry money. So,
well, I got my laundry done, but I was also able to get a honey bun and a drink.
There you go. You're right. No, man, we got 15.
Hey, Andrew, Tom not talking about the under table money now. He's just talking about what the money that was on top of the table. So
what table are you talking
never
about?
admitted to any under table
Andy,
money,
what table is he talking about?
Yeah,
right.
I don't know. Hey, Tom, look here. I used to hear, they used to tell a joke, man, about guys that went to Alabama, man, and said they had to pay to go pro.
I remember when Tree Rollins, we went to Clemson, I think. I remember when he got drafted by the Hawks.
He did.
He said he had to take a pay cut.
Yeah.
To go to the NBA. He said it. I mean, he said it publicly, you know.
I don't believe he was lying.
Andy, let me say a couple of things about you.
Yeah.
You went on for Coach Rob to be the captain of the team, and you made All-American. And you're fairly humble because you never told me these things when we were hanging out, and we were coaching the B team. We coached the B team at Parker High School.
We were. That was one of the joys of my life, man.
We were playing Carver, and Francis was my friend. He was coaching Carver, and we could run a double screen. We wanted
to be bad.
Yeah, boy, we run a double screen. We ran a double screen. You fake the screen to the right and throw it to the left, and the guy went all the way for a touchdown. And so the next time we got down there again, I said, "Well, hell, just run that double screen again. They don't know how to play it." We ran the double screen 3 times and scored every
time. we got a little lucky, Tom. We got a little lucky, man.
Did.
But look here,
we did.
I know that both of us wanted to beat him real bad, man.
Yeah, we did. He went to Alcorn. He went to Alcorn. He was always talking stuff. But we got him, baby. So I got another question. And I just want to say that you talk about your personal goals, and I want to just expound on that for a minute. To always eliminate the unnecessary things in life, to be a lifelong learner, to always try to add value to somebody's life, and to always be Cassandra Jackson's hero. So tell me about your personal goals.
Well, I
think he's frozen.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought it was me.
No, I think I
think everybody else is good. There he is.
Yes.
Well, no,
are you back, Andrew?
Yeah, there he is.
Yeah, I'm here. I've for the majority of my life, I've always worked with kids. Even when I came back, prior to even coming to Birmingham, I was a supervisor at a juvenile detention facility. And one of the things that working with kids, one of the things that I do presently now, I counsel kids who've attempted suicide.
Wow.
And so one of the things that I really enjoy doing is talk with kids, because one of the things that none of us could choose our parents. None of us could choose our parents. And we have some kids that I've had experiences with who have come from some horrific backgrounds. So if we're going to have any future, that's one of the things.
He's frozen again.
Yes.
He must have AT&T.
Probably.
The heart of the individual. And I believe that through listening, not hearing, you can always meet a person's need by listening to them. By listening to them.
Okay.
And so that's one of the goals that I have in life. Every morning that I get up, I always try to find something to be grateful for. I don't care if I've got 2 good socks, I'm grateful, because I've come to understand in life that people really don't have to do what they do for you. And for that, I've learned to live in an attitude of gratitude.
Okay. Sounds good. You have a quote that says, 35 years I've helped at-risk youth of various age groups to understand that their healing is their responsibility. Too many are waiting on the person that hurt them to heal them. I think
that will never happen.
Yeah. The person who hurts you doesn't come back and heal you.
Yeah.
No, they don't. No, they don't. And if you're sitting around waiting for that, you're setting yourself up for failure. And so the only way that you can heal is to take responsibility for what happened to you. Face it head on, because that's just the way life is. That your fears, you have to face them. You can't run away from them and get stronger. You have to face them head on. And that's what I've learned down through the years. And that's what I encourage kids to do today.
Michael,
face your fears.
You got another quick one here?
I've had one other comment. Andrew, when we're having a guest come on, we always do a little research. And I went into Google you, and I put Andrew Jackson, and I put Grambling in there. And what I read is they talk about taking down your statue. I didn't know you had a statue at Grambling.
I didn't either, Mike. I'm not familiar. Tell me about it. What?
Well, the question
Tell me
was,
about it, Mike.
Are they taking down the Andrew Jackson statue at Gremlin? So then I kind of figured out they must be talking about your namesake, the president.
I'm sure they are, and I haven't heard about it, Mike. But I will look into it, man. I'll look into it. I hadn't heard about it.
That's great, Barbara.
Yeah, I know that Gremlin just hired a new coach. Hugh Jackson came over from the his new coach there is hired in December. Yes, and they're opening their season playing on ESPN2 this year. So congratulations to the team for getting that worked out, and hopefully they'll have a good year. But tell us, are you excited about the upcoming season?
Yeah, I am. Also, when I go over next month, I'll have an opportunity to meet Coach Jackson, and I'm excited about doing that. But not only that, a lot of old friends that I haven't seen in some time will have a chance. One of the guys that's going in the hall with me is a former teammate of mine. And I'll have an opportunity to meet a lot of guys that I haven't seen in a while, and meet Coach Jackson and see, where his thought process is about what's going on and with the upcoming season.
That's great.
All right, you'd be coming around that corner, buddy. When I got to camp, do you remember Willie Anderson, Chili Willie Anderson? He was from Clemson. I got to camp, and I was walking down the sideline with the coach, I think, and Chili Willie. They came to the sideline, and Chili Willie tackled this boy and took him and drove him across the bench and ran him into the fence, and jumped up and said, "Yes, sir, Chili Willie gonna be here all day." And I said, "Ooh, this is a different thing."
Well, see, Thom, really, when you're saying that, see, you get me excited talking about stuff like that, man, because that was my nature right there.
Yeah, hey, I do remember you coming around that corner now. But the good thing about playing receiver at that time was, guy asked me, he said, "Hey man, well, did you ever get any of those concussions, anything like that?" I said, "You don't understand. That wasn't my job."
That wasn't your job. You had a business decision to make, and it was no. Can I tell you a quick story?
I asked him, I said, "Do you remember Bob Hayes?" He said, "Yeah." I said, when Bob Hayes caught a punt, he either ran it back for a touchdown or he ran out of bounds. I said, the Bob Hayes School of Punt Return.
Can I tell you a quick story right quickly, Thom?
Go ahead.
When I was at Grambling, Coach Robinson never criticized me. My position coach never had to get after me. And so we were I used to like to look good. I used to like to look good in my stuff. I had the philosophy of Dion before Dion. And so when we were running the bags one day, and when I got out, I got position on the bag to take it where, just like I would be doing a man, to take him whichever direction where I wanted to take him. And Coach Robinson, I was looking good when I did it. And Coach Robinson said, "Oh, who is that guard out there?" Somebody said, "That's Jack, Coach." He said, "Oh, hurry back, man, hurry back." He never criticized. He never criticized me. He never got after me, man. And so, I'm grateful for that. For obviously something I did right.
It's funny. It's funny how you're in a football uniform, you have on a helmet, but it's so funny how many guys are in the mirror before they go out on the field. They're in the mirror combing their hair. I used to comb my afro out the back of my helmet so it could flop.
No doubt.
Making sure your shoes spatted up. Oh man.
Look good, feel good, play good.
There you go. There you go. Andy, you got anything you want to leave us with?
Hey, man, choose to live in an attitude of gratitude. Remember, because what people do for you, they really don't ever have to do. So choose to live in an attitude of gratitude.
Well, man, it's great. I look forward to, you're going to get us some video and some photos of the ceremony down in Louisiana.
Yes, I will.
And I'm just proud to say I know you. And boy, we go back and we've had such a good journey, So,
hey, we had a good we've had and we're still having a good run, Tom.
I was in that apartment and you and Big George were in there. Big George was 300 before 300 was popular. And,
we up in there like big bears, man.
It was fun. It was great, though. It really was. Thank you, Andy, so much, man. We appreciate you.
250-pounder and a 300-pounder.
Look forward to talking to you again when the ceremony's over.
No doubt about it. It's been my pleasure, and I appreciate the opportunity, Tom. I really, really do. And thank you guys also.
Thank you
Ms.
so
Edwards
much.
and Mr. Walker.
Thank you.
Yes.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you.
All right, let's give Andy a hand.
I did.
Okay, it's always great to go back and man, we had such a great time playing a little pro football, getting money legally, and that kind of thing. Anyway, my closing commentary, or as I see it, the big summer movies for 2022 are back and include Jurassic World Dominion, Thor, Love and Thunder, Lightyear, Top Gun, Maverick. The concept of must-see summer movies began 47 years ago with, you know what that movie was? Jaws. Jaws became the first movie to earn $100 million at the box office. And that famous line in the movie where actor Roy Scheider says, "You're going to need a bigger boat." That line was not in the script, but was ad-libbed by the actor. And finally, Melissa McCartney, the actress and comedian, I really enjoy her work, says, "I want to shine a light on the fact that good matters and kindness is important." Thank you for that, Melissa. And that is how I see it on this 7th of June in the year 2022. And that's our show for today. Thank the audience. We appreciate you. Thank Michael Barber. Thank our G-list guest and my good friend, Andrew Jackson. Thank our sponsor, Best Girl. Thank Emily Hedrick, the communicator, and Sean Jones, the organizer and producer. Remember to enjoy yourself. Make every day count. Stay safe. Peace.